Welcome to another episode of the Small Actions, Big Ripples podcast, where we celebrate the achievements of individuals whose small, intentional actions create waves of positive change. In this special episode, I welcome Johnny Themans from Good to Great, whose mission is to be a driving force for local economic prosperity through coaching, training, and consultancy to help businesses thrive.
That's it.
Johnny, welcome to the Small Actions, Big Ripples podcast.
Thank you, Stavros. Thanks for having us here today.
You're welcome. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself, the early days, and how did you come to co-found Good to Great?
Okay. Early days, I'm a Shropshire boy born and bred, and kind of fled the county a bit, pursuing a corporate career. And I suppose after about 20 years, I felt disquieted and dissatisfied with that trajectory I was on, being a bit invisible at home and not really relevant to the county that I loved and the area and the place that I loved. And it got to a point where I just felt I want to do something different. And I met a business partner at the time, and Gary and I worked together up until 2018 when he retired from the business. But we both had this same driving force that we wanted to make a difference. And I think by that point, we'd had successful corporate careers and we only really knew business. So we thought, well, that's probably the best contribution we can make locally, is to help businesses to thrive. So it was just born from that wanting to make a difference.
From that desire to make a difference, which leads me on to my next question. So clearly your connection with the local business community ran deep. Why do you think the role of Good to Great is so important for local economy and the wider community?
Businesses like ours, we are there to support and cheerlead everything good that happens in business, really, and to work to help individuals, business owners, teams within the, leaders and managers and teams within those businesses, budding entrepreneurs who are thinking about setting out in business, people in local authorities or other groups that are trying to improve the conditions for businesses to thrive. So we've developed all of our services to align and support those aims, so that we can be the enabler, the cheerleader, the championer, the enabler, the trainer, the coach, the person that helps them to unlock their own success, which is so elusive because business, there's a couple of mistakes people make. Business is very, very straightforward, but it's actually really hard. And what people often think is, oh, it's really, really hard, I need a complicated solution. But I say it's a little bit like trying to knock a nail into a piece of wood. That's a really hard thing to do. Why don't you go and get a really simple tool like a hammer? Let's not try to overcomplicate it. Let's use something really simple and really straightforward, learn how to use it really well, and actually achieve that goal. And what people do is they overcomplicate things, and then they struggle with resource scarcity of time and money, and get lost a little bit along the way and don't achieve the success that they want or deserve.
Great insights. We'll come back to this, and I'd like to dig in a little bit deeper into that, not overcomplicating and just finding the shortest route possible. But before we do that, looking back over the recent work with Good to Great, is there one particular accomplishment that you're especially proud of? Well,
I think big picture, I'm very proud of the fact that we continue to help businesses create jobs, to be more profitable, and all of the things that keeps money local, which is really important. But I think particularly recently, I think getting recognised by Chamber of Commerce events, awards. We were finalists for social impact, which is very important to us, and all of the people that we've helped across the areas that we serve, who otherwise would struggle to get that support and enablement to be able to be successful. Yeah, I think that's probably the best, the most important thing, because it's that recognition that I think we got the validation, but particularly the team that I work with, our team at Good to Great, the real validation that we're actually doing something that makes a difference, is worthwhile.
How does Good to Great help those business founders overcome those challenges?
Okay, so there is one overriding limiter to the growth and success of small and medium-sized companies, micro companies as well, is resource scarcity. And resource scarcity is really the two main resources are time and money, and then also some know-how as well. And when I'm talking here about business know-how, um, and it isn't always about not knowing what to do, because most business owners, if I ask them to say, why don't you list down all the things you could do to grow this business? It's a long list. Okay, how do we sort through and say which ones are those? Because there's 25 things here. We can't possibly do all of those because we don't have enough money. We don't have enough time. So how do we find the most pragmatic and the most straightforward things that we could implement right now to actually start to unlock what you need to achieve in the business, and then prioritizing those and actually setting out with a plan and then helping them to implement that plan and stay on plan is really what the biggest favor we can do to somebody, because you're getting pulled in a million directions and wearing multiple hats all of the time as a business owner. As I quite often say, the time you get to pause and think is at night when you're looking at cracks in your bedroom ceiling, thinking about all the things you've not managed to get done in the day and all the things you've got to do tomorrow.
I remember when I first started, I attended that 8-week module
Yeah.
course, which was so helpful in breaking down all the steps that somebody at the beginning of their business career need to take in order to simplify things and just ease their way into it. So what gets you out of bed each morning?
So I think we've developed a really great culture within our own business. And when we've got a new member of staff just about to start, and I was talking to him and said, you'll know after a few weeks if you're a good to great person. Because I would say a good to great person gets to a Friday evening and their partner says to them, have you had a good week? And they say, I have, I made a difference. And every single week, we just need to think, have I made a difference? And if we've made a difference, a positive difference, of course, then we're doing well, and that's the joy that we can take from what we do. We've got the best job in the world. And the other thing I say is to take pressure off the team is when we make a mistake, somebody misses a training course. When we get it right, we change people's lives. And there aren't many jobs where you can say actually that's the balance, and it's really good. So the cost of our mistakes are very small. We take those very seriously and rectify them quickly, but it's not life threatening or life changing. The impact of our success really is life changing, though.
Yeah. So, considering the impact of AI on the business sector,
I think we're about 7 minutes in. I have this thing with every conversation. How long does it take until somebody mentions AI?
AI, so 7, there you go. So how do you see the role of business advisors in helping SMEs navigate the challenges that lie ahead?
Wow, that's a crystal ball gazing thing. I think it's about being proactive and adopting AI, but not getting carried away with it and changing and pivoting your business and panicking about AI. I think is my take on it, and my most common sort of steering for people. Yes, it's really good, but it's just like having a really great assistant. I was explaining to somebody the other day that when you're using ChatGPT to assist you with with some things that they were doing, I said you've got to be really careful with it. Treat it like the cleverest, most stupid friend you've ever had. Because actually it will only work on instruction, and if you give it the wrong instruction, it will go off and do an amazing job of doing the wrong thing.
I think it's people often forget to use advanced tools like that. You've got to have that critical thinking mentality behind.
I do think though that we're in a temporary period of adoption of AI, because I think AI as a thing is going to disappear. And by that, I mean, it's just going to be incorporated into everything. It'll just be in the background. AI has been around for a while. Our Google searches have been driven by AI for a long time. We've not even known. So I think AI as a separate tool will start to become just so baked into everything we do. We'll kind of sometimes not know when we are and when we're not using it. And it's just going to be there, omnipresent really in everything we do online, or all of our IT-based support. Will be there. It'll just be part of it all.
And what advice would you give to other business mentors who feel inspired by your work, that you do a good to great and want to make a similar impact in their own business communities?
Yeah, it's one business at a time, and it's one person at a time, and everything is about people. And I think one of the things that sometimes people in our space make the mistake of is trying to coach people towards a dream that's not the owner's. It's their dream. So they will come along and they'll come into a business and say, this is fantastic. Now I'll tell you what we can do here and what you should be doing for. And they start to give instruction about what they should be building without asking the owner what they want to do, because the decision for everything that happens in a business is actually down to want, not necessity, not logic or anything else like that. Why does this business exist? Well, the reason I started is because I wanted to do this. And then every decision, and then what I thought was I wanted to grow. So I would then wanted to try and find somebody who could help me do these things. And it's all down to the personal decision of the owners or the people involved in that business. So keeping it all around those personal decisions about why people are making those decisions. Then once you've actually taken the time to understand, then you can actually give really good qualified advice. That we always say that no other business mentor, business coach is really a competitor to us, because if they're good guys, they're good guys, and that's great. And there are plenty of good guys out there. I include us. We're part of the good guys. Our biggest competitor, like lots of professional services, is the bloke at the end of the bar. And that's the unqualified advice, because they haven't listened. They don't really know what's going on. They say, I'll tell you what you want to do. My mate, he did this and that worked for him. You should do the same. And it's like, how do you know that?
It's all very insightful tips. Thank you, Johnny.
Yeah, well, it's all really across the 4 business themes. When the 4 business themes are, whether you can create the demand, because that's how you grow the business. Then it's about how efficient you can produce in that business. So can you actually make profits and margins in there? Do you have good, robust administration, so you've got good governance and also good information to help with decision making? And finally, can you build a happy and productive team to then help you then to take that further on in growth? If you can spin those 4 big plates, then you've got a chance of a continued sustainable growth in a business.
Thank you for sharing that. So to finish on a lighter note,
Okay.
is there one unknown fact perhaps about you that might surprise our listeners?
Be very careful what I say here. Now, I think I'll keep it business related, though. I think one thing's, you don't talk too much, but I said I was Shropshire born and bred. I'm a farming family, and I suppose when I sort of thinking back, when did business mindedness start? My very first business, I was 10 years old, and it was I bought some chicks, some ducklings, and so I bought those, and I needed to feed them. So my dad didn't give me food off the farm. He said, you need to buy 2 bags of food for this. And then we went, all right. And he said, so that's how much you owe me, and we'll take that out of the money at the end when you sell them. So I was in debt right from the start to my father, which was sort of, so I spent some pocket money to buy these ducks, thinking I don't know how to feed them, and then had to go into debt to be able to sort of maintain and get that business, which really was, luckily I was cash flowed by my supplier. And by the time we came to then, when those ducks were ready to go, and my mother helped me to sell them, which was very nice. But when we got those sold, I then had some money, but I couldn't keep it all. I had to give some to my dad.
What an important business lesson.
Yeah, so it all, I thought he was a bit mean at the time, but you look back and you go, really, that's pretty sensible stuff, isn't it?
And keeping it business related, if you had one superpower to help local businesses succeed, what would it be?
A superpower. That's a really great question. I think a superpower would have to be a time machine. If I could create more time for every business owner to achieve more. So I think everybody would say, I just need more time. And actually, money's doable with a business. I just don't have the time to do it all.
It's a great reminder. It is one resource that money cannot simply buy.
Yeah, I know.
It's time.
And you can't store it.
Good answer. Good answer. Well, that's a wrap for another episode of the Small Actions, Big Ripples podcast. Thank you to Johnny for being my guest today.
Thank you, Stephen.
And thank you, Johnny, and for his vision for local economic prosperity through business success. Until next time, keep taking those small steps. You never know just how far your ripples will reach. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode. Cheerio.